On March 1st, Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, pleasure, comforts, many of the sweetest things in life, Venus will retrograde in the signs of Pisces and Aries. And this Venus retrograde will be particularly intense because it overlaps with a Mercury retrograde in the same signs and eclipse season, making this a truly transformational Venus retrograde for many of us. Who will feel this Venus retrograde most personally, most intensely? What themes can we expect, and how can we navigate the energies with the most ease and grace? This and more is what I will be covering in part 1 of this video. And in part 2, I will be doing readings for all 12 signs based on your rising sign and the whole sign house system in Western tropical astrology. I will also pull an oracle card for each of the 12 signs. As always, I strongly encourage you to watch part 1 of the video so you don't miss the transits going on and how you can use this Venus retrograde to move you powerfully forward in 2025. If you are brand new to the channel, I am so glad you found our like-minded community. If you are looking for your tribe and you want to feel empowered through astrology, be sure and tap the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Welcome back to all of you beautiful people who have subscribed to the channel, those of you who have been watching the videos. Thank you so much for subscribing. You make a huge difference to the success of the channel. I'm Betsy Gutting. I'm a psychic astrologer as well as an intuitive life coach and the author of the book, The Magic of Saying Yes, Answering Your Heart's True Calling. I am a full-time professional astrologer, so if you'd like to find out more about doing an astrology consultation with me, I will tell you more about my services at the end of this video. I also have a free gift for you. Stay tuned for what that is and how you can get it. And I invite you to go to my website and sign up to get my free weekly inspirational astrology updates, which is the astrology between videos. When you subscribe to my updates, you will also get that free instant download gift right away. So first of all, the dates of this Venus retrograde in Pisces and Aries. Venus will be retrograde from March 1st to April 12th, and she will leave her post-retrograde shadow May 16th. Now, as far as the exact degrees, the territory that Venus will cover as she retrogrades moves backwards. She begins at 10 degrees of Aries, and she will travel all the way back to 24 degrees of Pisces. She will station direct at this 24-degree point on April 12th. So who will most feel this transit of Venus retrograde? Those of you with planets and points between 23 and 29 degrees of Pisces or the other mutable signs of Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius. You will feel this transit most intensely, most personally. In addition, those of you with planets or points between 0 and 11 degrees of Aries or the other cardinal signs of Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn. Venus will also be working with you on a very personal level, and this Venus retrograde may end up being quite a transformational transit for you as well. Now, in general, it's important to know that Venus retrogrades every 18 months. Every year and a half, we have a Venus retrograde transit. However, Venus only retrogrades in the same sign every 8 years. And towards the end of this part 1, I'm going to tell you when that period was exactly, so you can look back at the themes that were going on in your life at that time as well. Venus retrogrades last about 40 days. This one will be 42 days. And a lot of times when we hear that 40 days, we think of the biblical reference to 40 days, 40 nights, right? A period of deep reflection, an inward journey often for a lot of us, during which you could go through some sort of review or reassessing, reevaluating the Venusian areas of your life. Love, relationships, your finances, your physical beauty, perhaps. Most importantly, the things that you most value and whether you feel like they are in balance for you, or you need to restore harmony for your inner well-being and happiness. Often during a Venus retrograde, there is some revealing of truth. We get insights that take us into a sense of, okay, I didn't see that before, but now I get it, and I'm not going back to that again. And often those insights and truths take us through an inner metamorphosis that lead us into a renewal or a rebirth. Our human selves during a Venus retrograde can feel frustrated, can feel delays, can feel like we're revising something of deep importance to us. This can also be a time of second chances, whether it's a second chance at a relationship or a job or something to do with your physical body. Venus rules love and relationships, including our patterns, our relationship dynamics, the childhood conditioning that we receive, and often the past life issues that get played out in our childhoods that show up in our relationships, romantic and platonic. Venus also rules resources, time, money, energy, our material wealth, whatever wealth is for you, my friend. We associate Venus with our creativity, artistic beauty, aesthetics, our own sense of beauty, as well as any adornments, jewelry, clothing, and cosmetic procedures. Another way that Venus often shows up during a retrograde is where we feel out of balance or harmony, or where we have some sort of a goal that we're trying to manifest, but it's not happening, and we realize on some level that we're not fully open to receiving. We don't feel completely deserving of it, often on a purely subconscious level. And many of us become aware during a Venus retrograde where there isn't mutual reciprocity in one or more relationships, because Venus rules the sign of Libra, and Libra requires harmony, balance, equanimity, a sense that there is, over the long run, equal give and take. And because Venus rules the sign of Taurus as well, and Taurus wants the good life, whatever the good life is for you, you could be wanting to make some sort of course correction in your quality of life as well. Now, of course, there are additional themes for the signs that Venus is transiting in, which I will get to in a moment. But I want to say overall, regardless of where Venus is transiting, during a retrograde, we are often very aware of whether our needs are getting met in relationship. It's very common to feel a bit more lonely, a bit less loved or lovable, because we're often more sensitive to our own hearts and our own emotional needs. Also more sensitive to our physical beauty. A lot of times we feel less beautiful. Or one thing that I've noticed during a Venus retrograde is it can be harder to find clothing that I love. And my mom always said, don't buy it unless you're madly in love with it. And that's already a high bar. But also we're more likely to be less happy when we get our hair done or any kind of procedure, which is why I highly encourage people to put off any elective surgeries that you can wait on. Now, Venus will first travel backward in fiery Aries. Venus in Aries is the go-getter. This is where we feel our Venusian desire and we want to take action on it. We want to initiate. Aries is the I am, your identity. It's a risk-taking energy. It can be ambitious. There's courage. There's passion. And when Venus is in Aries, everything can move quickly as fire does. This is why astrologers often say that Aries energy can be impulsive. We get an impulse. And Aries says, follow the impulse. Act now, think later. But when Venus in Aries begins to go backward, a wrench can be thrown in our plans. We can get a change of heart. You could be in a relationship that you think is going swimmingly, and then the other person suddenly tells you, I can't keep going with this. Or you change your mind. Because Venus in Aries wants us to prioritize our own needs first, and that's true for both people in the relationship or both people in the work situation. Or you could apply this to a creative project that you were super gung-ho about, you couldn't wait, you were just full of enthusiasm about, and then something shifts and you no longer have the energy for it. Additionally, Aries energy is ruled by Mars. Mars rules the physical body. So Venus in Aries might have many of us working on healing something, working on strengthening our bodies, something to do with exercise routines, resolving a health issue perhaps. And we're going to have to be patient, and that's hard in Aries energy. Aries is either at the starting line or is in the race. Aries does not want to pull back, doesn't want to delay. Patience is very challenging for Aries energy. Take it from someone with Mars in Aries. So don't be surprised if you find yourself Googling, how long does it take to strengthen your glutes? Or how fast will I heal from such and such surgery? Again, I encourage delaying elective surgeries till after the retrograde, but you get the idea. Aries is like, okay, I'm committing, I'm doing it. When will I be done? And another thing I think that many of us will be charged, so to speak, by the planets with looking at during this retrograde is healing any kind of anxiety around performance. Because on a subconscious level, Aries feels like it has to do everything really well. I have to hit this out of the park. And if you look at batting averages, right, of professional ball players, hitting something out of the park is extremely rare. And yet in Aries energy, we often feel that we have to keep doing better and better and better. And I think this Venus retrograde wants us to pull in and take some of that pressure off. Love ourselves exactly the way we are. Talk to our inner child. Tell him or her, I'm sorry if I've set such a high bar for you. It's okay to do your best. It's okay to do your best, knowing that your best is going to fluctuate because you are a human being, not a machine. Themes for Venus in Pisces. When Venus is in Pisces, it's an emotional water sign, very, very creative, very, very artistic. But if you are normally very tapped into your inner muse, you may feel less that way during a Venus retrograde. It's easy to project onto others our ideal. It's easy to put people on a pedestal. We're more likely to look through rose-colored glasses during a Venus retrograde than at other times. Pisces is connected to the 12th house of the zodiac. This is endings, completions, coming full circle, and it's karmic bonds. So while Venus is retrograde in Pisces, we are also more likely to meet people that have that sense of that we feel we've known in past lifetimes, which can be really wonderful, right? Those meetings, those fated meetings are very special in my view, and they bring us a lot of growth. And that growth can be painful as growth can be. It can also be joyful. Other key words for Venus and Pisces are divine connection, your spiritual practice, devotion, compassion, forgiveness of others, and forgiving yourself. Creating a vision or an ideal for your life. It's a visionary energy. We're more likely going to have to let go, surrender, go with the flow. And this is where spiritual practices like meditation, automatic writing, anything that helps you to release your emotions, all of that will be helpful during this Venus retrograde in Pisces. So a few tips that I have. If you are starting a new romance around this time, or if you met somebody recently, I definitely encourage you to go slow because Aries is known for the fast burn romances, or you could meet somebody during the Venus in Pisces time and it can feel out of this world dreamy, you're smitten, it's amazing, and then things can change very quickly when Venus retrogrades back. Or you could have met someone back when Venus was in Pisces direct, and then when it retrogrades in Aries, things can burn out quickly. And I'm not at all saying that this is going to happen for all new relationships, not at all, but you could find yourself, if you have planets or points around the degrees where the retrograde is happening, which I shared at the beginning of this video, you could find yourself going through a bit of a bumpy patch during the Venus retrograde. Big picture, what this Venus retrograde is asking us to do is to look at what needs attention. I think most of us know already. As this video is going live, or as the retrograde begins at the beginning of March, I think most of us know or probably have a strong sense of what needs attention, what have I been putting off, what is out of balance in my life, what wants my devotion, my own devotion. This is what we are being invited to do during this 42-day Venus retrograde. Okay, so when was Venus last retrograde in Pisces and Aries? The last time was March and April of 2017, and the time before that was around the same period of 2009. As always, if you look back to that time, I encourage you to only look at the themes. There were other transits going on for all of us during that time. And so if you had a significant loss or something really difficult happen, you could have been having a hard Pluto transit. You could have been having a really challenging Uranus transit or Saturn transit or all of the above, but not having that now. So we only want to look at the themes. And I also encourage you to keep in mind that we are approaching things from a higher octave this time, a higher octave of consciousness, because we're not the same people. We have evolved. We have learned our lessons from past Venus retrogrades, and we will be applying what we've already learned, most of us, to anything that happens during this Venus retrograde. So for me, looking back to that March, April 2017 Venus retrograde, what happened was quite significant in my soul growth around romantic relationships. I met somebody in late January, so that would have been about 6 weeks before Venus retrograded. We met at a networking event. Looking back, it had to be karmic because we were like instant buddies with a romantic attraction. It went quite well. We were having so much fun. It was really delightful. It was a lot of fun. And it was Venus in Aries, so it moved very quickly. About 5 to 6 dates in, I sprained my ankle. And once I had the brace and I could go out and enjoy myself, the person I was dating invited me out for St. Patrick's Day. It was the first time that I was meeting some of his friends. That's always a big deal, right? But it was on that date that he pulled me aside, told me we had to stop seeing each other. So needless to say, the way that that all went down, the way that it all happened, made it very clear to me that we were not compatible anyway. He was right. We were not right for each other. But I give you a few of those details because to me, it was so Venus in Aries. It was kind of dramatic. It was quite upsetting for me, but I couldn't unsee what was happening, right? And that's a Venus retrograde. You can't unsee it. It can be shocking. And it made me see how I was so in the flow of the fun and the festivities and the things that we were doing together. I was so much in that I was ignoring the incompatibilities, the red flags, because there are always red flags, right? I was ignoring those because I was having so much fun. And looking back, of course, hindsight is always 2020. Looking back, I can see how it was karmic and how I was settling. And that was a huge period of soul growth for me. And during this Venus retrograde, after she retrogrades through Aries, she's going to retrograde through Pisces. Venus in Pisces is going to, during the retrograde, make a conjunction to Neptune and a conjunction to Saturn. Venus will come together with Neptune from March 27th to the 30th. These are the dates we'll likely feel it. And then Venus will come together with Saturn from April 5th to the 8th. They'll be 1 degree apart for quite some time. And I find this very illuminating. Why? Because Venus conjunct Neptune can be the dream, the projection, the raising someone up on a pedestal, ignoring all the red flags. But when Venus makes a conjunction to Saturn, that's when we're going to be coming down to Earth. Early April, perhaps early to mid-April even, is when we're going to be either seeing the reality or applying what we've already seen to our life situation. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this Venus retrograde overlaps with a Mercury retrograde that is also happening in Pisces and Aries. And we're also going to have a solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees, which is one of the degree points over which Venus will be retrograding. So you can see that these same degrees of Pisces and Aries are getting a lot of activation by Venus, by Mercury, by the lunar nodes, the sun and the moon during the eclipses. What does this mean? Transformation for any of us with planets or points at these same degrees. So buckle up, my friends, because March is going to be quite the month for laying a new foundation of self-love, self-honoring, self-respect, radical self-love and acceptance. Okay, so let us do the 12 sign readings now. For each of the signs, I am going to let you know where in your chart, your natal astrology chart, Venus will be transiting first in Aries and then in Pisces. This is based on the whole sign house system. Watch your rising sign. This is the area of life in which you are likely to feel this transit, but also your moon and sun signs can give you further themes and intuitive messages. And we're going to start with Aries, because Venus will first retrograde in Aries. So hello, beautiful Aries. Venus is going to retrograde in your sign, in your first house of identity, the roles you play, your physical body, your vitality. So this is going to be a transformational, skin-shedding, rebirthing time for many Aries people. While Venus is retrograde in your first house, in your sign, you will very likely be reevaluating, reassessing a role that you play. You may want to leave a job. You may want to change your role in a relationship. You may be thinking of taking on a new project. You may be thinking of stepping up, getting a promotion, or taking some sort of a risk. Or maybe you already decided that you had a goal, you were going to go for a specific position, you were going to change jobs, you were going to do something, maybe you were going to change your physical appearance. That's the first house as well. Something to do with your exercise routine, something to do with your physical body. You could be healing something as well, because the first house is the body. You could be attending to any of these things during the Venus retrograde, or you could be reassessing, reevaluating a goal that you have already set in any of these areas. When Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, it will move into your 12th house. And the 12th house is a more inward journey. It's the house of rest and retreat. It is the house of your subconscious mind reprogramming. This is where we get amazing insights, often from doing a guided meditation or in our dreams, or we have a moment where we are astral traveling, or something happens that's an out-of-body kind of experience. Venus retrograding in your 12th house encourages you to deepen your connection with your divine source. A beautiful time to start a new spiritual practice or do something, automatic writing, for example, which I teach you how to do in my book, The Magic of Saying Yes. Anything that deepens your connection with the divine, that allows you to romance your soul, which is a big theme of my book, so that you can trust your intuition that much more, dear Aries. Okay, so let me pull a card for you and we will see what the cards have to say for you. This retrograde wants us to pay attention, give our own TLC and focus to prioritize what is most important in our life right now, and perhaps what we've been ignoring. Maybe you've been in a role, whether it's professional or personal, that you just know isn't right for you. It's just not working for you. In fact, when Venus retrogrades in your sign Aries, because it's in your first house, you could have something come up in a relationship, or you could finally be attending to something that's been coming up in a relationship, like an argument that has been ongoing that you realize you have to resolve in some way, or just something that's out of balance in a relationship. And this would be a really good time, if that's the case for you, to go to counseling with a significant other, a partner, or to get some sort of mediation if it's a business situation. Basically to take care of it, attend to it, give it your focus. Okay, Aries, let's see what the cards have to say for you now. Beautiful Aries. Your card is Truth. That's a Venus retrograde. That's when we see things that we haven't seen before. What I love about this card is that there is a tree with deep roots here. And when I look at this tree, I see a heart shape. I know I see hearts in a lot of things that other people don't see. You let me know, Aries, if you see the heart. I see a heart. I see your heart's truth. And there is a storm or a strong wind blowing here. There are some gray clouds, but there is a lot of heart healing in this green. And when I see this tree standing alone there, it's like I have my own back. I am rooted. Nothing can unroot me from the truth of who I am. So you may be getting some sort of truth that then causes a transformation, a renewal, a rebirth for you, beautiful Aries. If this resonates, anything that I shared, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Pisces, hello, beautiful Pisces. Pisces, you will first experience the Venus retrograde in Aries in your second house of material security. Many of you are reassessing, reviewing, looking at, basically, asking questions about, going deeper into a reflection about your earned income, or your self-love, deserving self-worth, or the question of your values, whether your life, the roles that you play, the things that you're doing, your commitments are aligned with your current values. Some of you may be feeling like the money that you're earning is just not commensurate for what you're putting into a job or a project. Some of you may be ready to change your job because you don't love your job anymore, or you want to do your own business, or you want to do a spiritually based career, perhaps. Or you finally decide that you're ready to do some inner reprogramming on your sense of deserving. A lot of Pisces that I work with, and I have strong Pisces energy in my chart as well, so I've done this on my own self, what we call shadow work. A lot of Piscean people had past lifetimes where they didn't receive what they most wanted. And so they have a belief, a subconscious belief at least, I can't have what I want. If this is true for you, beautiful Pisces, this would be a beautiful transit to work with that energy and shift that. Venus is going to retrograde into your sign after it moves through the Aries degrees. And when it does so, it will be in the first house of you, beautiful Pisces. It will be having you look at your identity. Who am I now? What do I want to do with my one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver says it? What role do I want to take on? This could be a question for you in your professional life or your personal life, your family life, or in a relationship, especially because the first house is directly across from the seventh house of partnerships. So some of you may want to or are doing some sort of evaluation or reevaluation of a relationship dynamic, a pattern that you have perhaps in relationships, or you might want to work on your relationship with a partner, business or personal. So beautiful Pisces, this is the time to treat yourself with the utmost TLC, to practice radical self-love, whatever that is for you. And for everyone, I'm going to link to a video I have called Inner Child Healing, Reparenting Yourself, because that's also really helpful for self-love practices. Okay, so Pisces, let's see what the cards have to say for you. Pisces, your card is Courage. I do think for a lot of people, especially the Pisces and the Aries, this is going to be a more intense Venus retrograde because of the eclipses and because the Mercury retrograde is happening at the same time in the same signs. But you've got this, beautiful Pisces. You've got this. Your creativity. Do you see the color here? I love, love, love the color of this card. The green and the purple and the orange. Your creativity may put you in a different zone. Your creativity may help you to move through any feelings. Before I did coaching, one of the trainings I did preparing to be a coach was a training in expressive arts therapies. So I know from personal experience that process art, whether it's visual art, whether it's dancing or movement, singing, a lot of different ways we can move stuck energy. We can release old patterns. And calling on your courage will help you move through this time. You are meant to take action. There are waves. It is a bit stormy. You are meant to take action. Beautiful Pisces, during this time, you are meant to have your own back, to advocate for yourself, to set clear boundaries. And this is all the water. This is you, Pisces. By you advocating for yourself, by you being your own fierce advocate and creative champion, you're going to come through this time with flying colors. Beautiful Pisces, if this resonates, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Aquarius, Aquarius, beautiful Aquarius. Venus is going to retrograde for you first in Aries in your third house. The third house is the house of communication and mindset. It's your local environment. This could affect a relationship or activate a relationship with a sibling, an aunt, uncle, cousin, a neighbor, a landlord. You could be doing some work with somebody that is close to you because it's Venus, and Venus affects, our relationship dynamics. Any of those people, especially, you are likely to be interacting with and having your own Venus dynamics come up during this time. It could also be somebody that you work out with. It could be, somebody that you see frequently at a meetup group and so on. Also, you could be working on a website. You could be working on your message. This is the house of communication, the house of our emails and our speaking and putting our messages out into the world, and also our transactions. So If you're wanting to sign a lease around this time, if you can put it off, I would encourage it, not just because Venus will be retrograde, but also because Mercury will be retrograde in March as well. You could meet somebody in your local area during this time, or you could have met somebody at a networking event, for example, and then things could change. You could get new information. Not everybody will go through a breakup, not by a long shot during this Venus retrograde, but some people will. Or there can be more arguments, more conversations, more reflecting on what you need in relationship, what you need in your local environment. Are you happy in the location that you're in? Are you happy with your devices, your vehicles? That falls into the mix of the third house as well. Venus will then retrograde back into Pisces, and this will be in your second house of earned income, your values, your self-love and self-esteem, your sense of deserving, and your material security. So anything to do with money, anything to do with how you make your money, with what makes you feel secure, your possessions. A Venus retrograde in the second house can actually be a good time to sell things as long as you feel like the value that you're getting for what you're selling is worth it for you. Mercury retrogrades can be a good time to sell things. Why? Because we're usually selling used things, right? I wouldn't sell anything new that you want to get full price for, but anything that's used, as long as you have a sense of what you feel you should get and you're happy with what's being offered, this can be a good time to unload, release what's no longer serving you. Also a good time to really reflect on, am I making the amount of money that I want to make? And if not, do I want a new job? Do I want to ask for a promotion? Do I want to start a side gig? Am I valuing myself the way I deserve to be valued? I personally would not ask for a raise during the Venus retrograde, but after, once Venus goes direct, or even better, once it's out of shadow, you're much more likely to get a yes if you're asking for a raise or a promotion. So Aquarius, let me now shuffle for you. And let us see what the message from the cards is. Aquarius, Aquarius, your card is flow. I love this card. This card reminds me of Venus and Pisces, the water, the purple. There is a flow, and if you stay in it, all is going to go in divine, perfect timing for you. There is nothing about this retrograde that you're not going to miss anything, Aquarius. Anything that feels delayed, anything that feels off, that's the nature of a retrograde. But if you stay in the flow, if you stay connected to the divine, if you are communicating with your guides, your angels, you're doing your prayers, you're doing a spiritual practice, whatever your favorite spiritual practice is, you will be in the flow. You will receive the magic and the synchronicities, the signs that let you know when it's time to go forward, when it is a go, if you just stay in the flow. How's that for rhyming? Beautiful Aquarius, if this resonates, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Capricorn. Hello, beautiful Capricorn. Capricorn, you are going to experience Venus retrograding in Aries in your fourth house of home, family, and childhood conditioning. Often when we have a Venus retrograde in the fourth house, it does take us back to our childhood. It takes us back to those places of tenderness, of ouch for some of us. All it takes is a comment by somebody, right? And especially when Mercury's during the Mercury retrograde, which overlaps with this Venus retrograde. That could spark some shadow work, some inner child healing for you. And I do have a video on inner child healing, reparenting yourself that I will link to in the description box below. You're getting a square from this Venus retrograde in Aries to your Capricorn energy, and squares are often moments of action when we feel like we have to do something. Maybe for you, it's I have to speak to this family member. I have to decide if I want to make a move. I have to take action on something to do with my home and family that I've been putting off. During a Venus retrograde, Venus takes us back to where it already was before, and often during that time when it was in direct motion, something came up for us that we wanted, that was important to us. But often we swept it under the rug, we were too busy, and now we're being asked to look at it again. This is a beautiful time to do any sort of healing work, to work on your own sanctuary, your inner and outer sanctuary. To some of you may want to do some sort of sprucing up your home. My only caveat is often the things that we buy to beautify during a Venus retrograde, they don't quite hit the sweet spot. I have to say, not always. Like obviously anything that's not a big investment, like buying flowers or but anything that you are spending a lot of money on, make sure and save the receipt, make sure that it is returnable, because I personally would not do major redecorating or remodeling of my home during a Venus retrograde in my 4th house. Obviously, listen to your intuition. Your intuition is always your greatest guide. Now, Capricorn, Venus will retrograde back into Pisces during the second part of the retrograde, and that's going to happen in your 3rd house. That 3rd house is the house of moving and shaking. It's the house of your immediate location, where you do networking with people, where you are. It's your hood. It's your it's landlords and tenants and siblings, neighbors. It's your immediate environment. It's aunts, uncles, and cousins. It's the people that we tend to have around us or that are in our sort of extended family, unless you live with your siblings, and then you're right there with them. But it's not just this. The 3rd house is also our mindset and communication and the message that we share with other people. We all have some sort of message. We all have some way of thinking. And the 3rd house rules our inner narrative and our inner thinking. Not only this, but if you're working on a business, if you're a freelancer, if you're working on a website, if you are in a period of a lot of growth and learning, inner growth and learning, or you're working on a business, something during this Venus retrograde could feel like a delay or a slowdown or a shift. Maybe you're working on a website and it feels like it stalls out, or your enthusiasm or your spark, your inspiration could stall out during this time. And if it does, that's because you're meant to go inward. Maybe there's a tweak. Maybe there's a shift that needs to happen inwardly before you can feel really good about what you're putting out into the world. This house also rules your devices and your vehicles, any lease that you might sign. So you might be evaluating these as well. And I always encourage an evaluation during this time rather than signing on the dotted line for something that you can't go back on. I know that sometimes we feel we have to sign a lease, even during a retrograde. And my caution with that is that we often see things we didn't see before. And then if that's true, we deal with it, right? But it's something to know and consider ahead of time. Okay, so Capricorn, let's shuffle for you now. See, I could just crack myself up. It doesn't take much to crack me up. I'm usually the person in the movie theater that is laughing when no one else is laughing. Oh my goodness, but it's dark in there, so. Okay, Capricorn, let's see what the cards have to say for you. Wonders, yes, I love this. Capricorn, when Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, and this reminds me of Pisces energy, the purple energy and all of the watery blue. When Venus retrogrades back into Pisces, it will make a sextile to your energy, and sextiles are positive energy flow. They can bring us opportunities. They can bring us workarounds. They are really beautiful energy for solidifying something. I'm not saying something will solidify necessarily during the retrograde, but I am saying that something will often come up, and maybe a new opportunity will come up for you. With a sextile, there's more ease and flow. It's easier to navigate a retrograde when the energy is harmonizing with your energy, which the energy is. So this card is saying, first of all, you might want to work with crystals. Second of all, tune into the wonders of life. Do your spiritual practice. Tune into the divine. Let the divine show you the truth of who you are. Let the divine take you into a space of nurturing you if and when you need it. We all need it, right, Capricorn? And you will have a much more beautiful, elevating, wondrous Venus retrograde. Sagittarius, Sagittarius, beautiful Sagittarius. Sag. The Venus retrograde for you will begin in Aries in your 5th house, your 5th house of love, romance, children, and creative expression. What does this mean? When Venus retrogrades, we often go into a reflection about any of the areas where it's happening. So you could be reflecting on a romance. You could be reflecting on romance in general. Maybe you're not in a romance right now, but you'd like to be. You could be reflecting on past dynamics or relationship patterns and wanting to shift one, perhaps. You could be working on a creative project and your inspiration could shift, more inspired, less inspired. You get the idea. You could be going through something with a child, whether it's your own child or children that you work with. This is the house of inner child delight. And so I encourage you to be very connected to your own inner muse, to seek out new inspiration. In my book, The Magic of Saying Yes, I have a chapter on, or at least a segment on soul dates. And soul dates are when you take yourself out on a date. You're not allowed to bring anyone else with you, Sag. It is just for you to be attuned to the divine. And that's why you can't bring anyone else, because we tend to be focused on the other person, right? And not on the divine, not on our inspiration when we're out with others. So the whole idea is for you to explore someplace beautiful, whatever that is for you. I give a lot more details in the book. To open up to something new and to get a sense of what your own heart is calling you to. So that could be really beautiful for you during this Venus retrograde in your 5th house. Venus will retrograde back into Pisces in your 4th house of home, family, childhood conditioning. And when it does, well, so the first Venus retrograde in Aries makes a trine to your energy, really beautiful, uplifting energy. When it retrogrades back into Pisces, however, it will make a square to your energy. And so you'll feel this more perhaps as tension or pressure, or always motivating. Squares are motivating. Squares get us into action. We do have to do something. And it's your 4th house of home, family, childhood conditioning. So you may find yourself doing some sort of inner child healing, shadow work, talking to a family member, working something out with somebody that you live with, or really going deep into your own inner sanctuary or your own home environment that you're in, and making some sort of doing some sort of review evaluation of your home. And I'm guessing that a lot of you might be wondering, do I want to live with the same person I live with? Do I want to move? Am I happy with my home? Do I want to remodel, redecorate, and so on? And as I shared with Capricorn right before you, I don't highly encourage like any expensive investments in your home during a Venus retrograde. Of course, it's up to you. Use your intuition, follow your heart. But I personally wouldn't make any purchases or do any work that weren't returnable, that I didn't have receipts for, and all of that, because Venus retrogrades, we're often just not as happy with the results of the work that we have done when we're trying to beautify during a Venus retrograde. Okay, Sag, let us pull a card for you and see what the cards have to say. Sag. This is going to be an important Venus retrograde because of the Mercury retrograde, because of eclipse season, all happening at the same time. These planets and points, if they're being activated for you, which I talk about in part 1 of this video, they are really being activated. So we shall see what happens. Sag, you got purity. Whenever I look at this card, I see an acknowledgement of your deep spiritual heart, the green eye, the blue eye, your intuitive psychic ability. I see that in this card. I see strength. I see wisdom. I see grace. I see a sweetness. I think all of these things this card wants you to acknowledge in yourself. But then we have the word purity, which is the truth of who you are as a spirit of pure love, and acknowledging your purity, acknowledging your specialness, whatever that means to you. We're all unique, right? We all are. I know this is trite. We've heard it over and over, but we are all works of art, the original works of art. None of us could, the divine would never replicate us exactly as we are. We're meant to put our own imprint, our own signature energetic signature on everything that we do, energetic autograph on everything that we create, whether it is a traditional work of art or it is the way we love someone or the way that we speak, the way that we share our heart. Beautiful Sag. Some of you may have needed to hear this. If it resonates, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Scorpio. Hello, beautiful Scorpio. Beautiful Scorpio. Venus is going to retrograde for you in Aries in your 6th house of daily work, your habits, your health. This is the house of optimal health, but it's also the house of our lifestyle, just how our days go on a regular basis. And do you want to make any changes here? A Venus retrograde in the 6th house. The textbook would be a romance at work that changes or shifts in some way. Also, textbook would be some sort of a health issue, and I don't want to scare anyone, but something could come up with your health that you need to pay attention to. It doesn't mean that it's anything serious. It could just be something that you have not attended to, that it needs attention now. Or you want a new lifestyle. Maybe you want to travel, Scorpio. Maybe you want to travel into the deep recesses of your own heart and mind. The 12th house is across from the 6th house. That is the house of spiritual awakening. Maybe you want to do a deeper dive into your own spirituality. Maybe you're seeking. Maybe you're seeking. One of my most beloved teachers is an author named Robert Holden, and he says, when something is missing in your life, what's missing is you. Some of you may be able to relate to that. I find that so profound. So a Venus retrograde in the 6th house is asking you, how do you want to change up your daily life? For some of you, it will have to do with exercise or nutrition. For others of you, it will have to do with your daily work, and you may want to change your work, or you may feel like you're in a toxic work environment. For others of you, you can't work with the same supervisor anymore, or the same coworker or the same employee, and something needs to change there for you. That's the first part of the Venus retrograde. The second part is going to be in your 5th house. Venus will retrograde in Pisces in your 5th house. In Scorpio, when Venus retrogrades into Pisces, it will make a trine to your energy, a beautiful harmonizing flow. This is your house of true love and romance, children, and creativity. A Venus retrograde in this house could have you meet somebody, very possible, someone romantic, a new friendship. You could start dating. If you start dating, just know that Venus retrograde often brings surprises. It can bring unexpected changes or reversals or just things that come out of the blue, but really they're not out of the blue. They're really often karmic experiences we're meant to have for our growth and learning. Also here, you could have a creative project that changes for you in some way. You get inspired, you lose your inspiration, you want to redo it in some way, you want to refine it in some way. If you have children, you may be shifting your parenting or realize there's a need for shifting your parenting, or maybe you haven't worked with children before and you want to work with children. Whatever it is, I think any changes that you make will come more easily because of the trine, and this is the time to really, maybe you are deepening your inspiration. Maybe you're being called to really choose a new muse, so to speak, or to get more in touch with your inner child, which is, I think, our most golden muse, our most sparkling muse is the child within us. So it could be that as well. After all, the 5th house is the house of inner child delight. So are you delighting your own inner child, Scorpio? Because if you're not, here's an invitation to do so. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. Scorpio. Your card is forgiveness. Forgiveness. That is one of the themes of Venus retrograde in Pisces for sure. Forgiving others, forgiving yourself. Letting past grievances go. Maybe there's a regret. Maybe there's a relationship that didn't play out the way you wanted it to. Maybe you wish you would have done something differently in a relationship. Maybe there's somebody to apologize to, if only the apology happens, within your own heart and mind. We're all different. Sometimes, communicating with another is appropriate and other times it's not for the best for the other person or for ourselves or both. So that's what's coming up for me. It could be forgiving your parents. It could be forgiving somebody at work, forgiving a boss, forgiving coworkers, forgiving yourself for not having good health habits, perhaps. Whatever it is, it's going to help you to move forward. Beautiful Scorpio, if this resonates, let me know. I would love to hear. Libra. Hello, beautiful Libra. Libra, Venus is going to retrograde in Aries in your 7th house. If you have planets or points around the degrees where it's retrograding, which I speak about in part 1 of this video, you are going to feel this. Why? Because Venus is making an opposition to your energy. Your 7th house is the house of Aries. Your 1st house is the house of you, and Venus will be retrograding in your 7th house. So basically, this means a review, a reevaluation, or working on a relationship or relationships, whether they are professional with clients, whether they are with sometimes coworkers can fall here. This is often a committed, a spouse. It's often a significant other, somebody that you live with. It's a romantic relationship often. Someone that you have committed to, but it's not always this. For some people, it's like, who is significant in your life right now? Whoever is significant. And some of you may be like, no, I keep to myself. I mean, you're Libra, so relationships are so important to Libras. So I think I'm less likely to have people watching that are like, I don't want a relationship. I get that sometimes, but I think for Libras, you're less likely to feel that. Not to say you're all in a committed partnership right now at all. I'm sure a lot of you aren't, but Libras do tend to really want relationships or thrive in relationships. So Libra, you get the idea. I feel like I was rambling a little bit. My apologies. My apologies if I was. What I'm trying to say to you, beautiful Libra, is that this is a time when if something shifts in a relationship, that is meant to happen. Things are meant to come up. Issues are meant to bubble up during this time for your soul growth, for the other person's soul growth. This is a time that you could be, if you're not in a relationship, you could be doing a deep reflection. You could be really feeling the lack of love in your life during this time, meaning that you are meant to go inward and strengthen your own self-love, strengthen your own connection. I'm seeing a child right now. I'm seeing a vision of a child. So connecting with your inner child can be so powerful. Telling that child things that they never heard from their parents. It's funny, I just got a sense, sometimes I don't know if this happens to you, Libra, sometimes I get a real strong sensation of a being right next to me, and I just got that. So an ancestor for you, perhaps, a spiritual guide, an angel. That was powerful. Wanting to come through and say, I'm with you. I have your back. I'm here for you. Some of you might need to hear that. I know that's very, very woo-woo, but I felt it. When I get that strong feeling, does that ever happen? Leave me a comment, like where you actually feel like someone's right here and you look, there's no one there. But the energy is so palpable. That's what I just felt very strongly. Okay, so great time to go to counseling. Great time to go to a counselor if you want to work on your own relationship dynamics, past, present, future, and great time to really create a vision for your ideal partner in business or in your own committed partnership life, beautiful Libra. Now, Venus is going to retrograde back into Pisces in your 6th house. And this is your house of daily work, your habits, nutrition, your workouts, your exercise, your lifestyle. Venus retrograde in Pisces here is asking you, is your health in balance? Is your daily schedule in balance? Do you feel like you have enough time for yourself? Do you feel healthy? Anything that said, any no that I got to those questions from you would be where Venus retrograde wants you to focus. And with Venus retrograding in the 6th house, that's often when we do see something that we didn't pay enough attention to before. Like maybe, I know this happened to me once when I was in a toxic work environment. I wasn't sleeping well. I had to face that. you know, how your daily work is affecting your health, or your daily life is affecting your health, if it is out of balance, or, you know, just what course corrections can you make. We're having eclipses during this time. The eclipses course correct us as well. If we make those changes ourselves, then the eclipses are less likely to shock or disrupt our lives. Beautiful Libra. Let me pull a card for you now. That's 2 deep breaths. Okay, that's okay. See, sometimes I'll tell myself, that's okay, Bets. My close people call me Bets. It's okay, Bets. It's okay. I give myself that. That's another way of healing our inner child, right? You got diligence. I think this card is acknowledging your diligence. This is a bird flying above and getting it, transcending, getting a big picture. Big picture, this card is saying, Libra, can you zoom out and fly above your life for a moment and see how far you've come? Acknowledge yourself for all the work that you've put in. Your sincerity, your big heart, your desire to have success in love, relationships, work, your health, whatever it is for you, this card is acknowledging that, I believe. And if some of you feel that it's time to apply more diligence, that could be true as well. Some of you could need to be more diligent about caring for a specific area of your life. If you want to share what that is or claim your own diligence, anything that you'd like to share, beautiful Libra, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Virgo. Hello, beautiful Virgo. Virgo, you are going to experience Venus retrograde first in Aries in your 8th house of power, control, emotional attachments, death and rebirth. This is the house of transformation. We feel this in our closest relationships, whether they are with clients, whether they are with intimate sexual romantic partners, whether they are with just the closest people in our lives that tend to push our buttons, right? This is the house of button pushing. Maybe that's my new term for it. My new term is actually emotional attachments, but it's, you know, same thing, right? Button pushing. Also our assets, taxes, debts, loans. This is a house where we can receive money too through an inheritance. Now, Venus in the 8th house usually is where the money is better, where an asset is appreciating, where we are getting more returns on our investments. When it retrogrades, something could be shifting. You could be dividing assets with somebody. You could be feeling like an investment. You could be reassessing your finances. Really good time to do that, actually. You could be reassessing an intimate partnership where you are emotionally and or sexually intimate. You could be wanting to pay off a loan or dealing with some sort of debt. I know loans and debts are the same thing. Okay, so I think that I've covered it all. This is a time of you exercising your power, Virgo. Also, you could be, so, you know, you could have gotten money from somebody else. Somebody I know, someone, a Virgo very close to me, who's gotten a lot of money from a specific person in their life. And this could be a time, just an example of assessing if you have had some sort of benefactor. Who doesn't love a benefactor? But sometimes there are strings attached. And this could be a time where there have been strings attached, like from a parent, for example, where you want to break free and be more independent. After all, Venus in Aries is very independent energy. And so you're wanting to take action on that. That could happen too. The second part of the Venus retrograde will be in Pisces for you in your 7th house of committed partnerships, beautiful Virgo. And so this is where, you know, this is the eclipse axis, your Virgo Pisces axis this year for the next 18 months. And so with Venus retrograding in your 7th house of committed partnerships, this is where we're reassessing a relationship oftentimes, where you could be having more arguments with somebody. You could be asking someone to go to counseling, or they're asking you to go to counseling, where you are getting, if you're not in a relationship with a specific committed partner, you could be looking at your vision for partnership. You could feel during this time, during a Venus retrograde, like your love life isn't flowing as smoothly, or you've had it with your love life if you've been single for a long time, for example, and you don't want to be single. I know that's not everyone, but if that's true, and I know Virgos need space, not that we don't all need a certain amount of space, but specifically Virgos often, I find more Virgos that are like, okay, I want to be partnered, but I want us to either live apart, or I want us to have our own wings of a home, that idea, that kind of a thing. That's a bit of a tangent, beautiful Virgo. You get the idea. Like, there's something going on during this time. Sometimes we feel more lonely during a Venus retrograde. A card just flipped over, so this is your card, and guess what? It is a beautiful card. Abundance. Beautiful, beautiful card for you. The message of this card is that you don't have to do anything to change who you are to experience the lusciousness of life, the abundance of life. These are wildflowers. They grow on their own. They grow naturally. The seeds blow and scatter. Yes, sometimes we plant wildflowers, but oftentimes they just spring up wherever. And they have a natural beauty to them, just as you have a natural beauty to you, beautiful Virgo. This card is saying you are abundant naturally from within. And if you want to claim your abundance, the abundance of your own beauty, the abundance of your pure, loving heart, the abundance of relationships, if some of you want a relationship, the abundance of power, the abundance of, this, as I'm looking at Venus retrograde in Aries in your 8th house, that's a financial house too. Some of you are ready to work on your own inner sense of abundance. So if you want to claim it, claim your abundance, let us know in the comments below. You will inspire all of us. Leo, hello, beautiful Leo. Leo, you are first going to experience Venus retrograding in Aries in your 9th house of expansion. I love this Venus transit. Now, yes, Venus retrograding is a little bit different. I'll get to that in a moment, but you're getting a trine from this energy, which is beautiful, harmonious, positive energy flow. Trines are the wind at our back, and if anything happens that you wouldn't have ordered off the menu during this transit, it will be easier to move through because of the trine energy. This is the house that wants to expand you. This is a transit that wants you to say yes to a new adventure, or really think about what would light you up. This could be a time that you're reflecting on whether you want to do long distance travel, and if so, where. You could be reflecting on, do I want to take some sort of learning program, a certification program? Do I want to get a degree? Do I want to get a PhD? You could be thinking about publishing something, teaching something. This is the house where we are sharing oftentimes some sort of spiritual philosophy or message, or publishing a book. At the same time, because it's retrograde, Venus is retrograding, you could feel disillusioned about something that you were once attached to, like a religion or a philosophy. You could feel disillusioned about a guru. You could feel like something has changed in a foreign place that you wanted to travel, or maybe you moved to a foreign country and now you're wondering if you want to stay there. You could be questioning something having to do with a lawsuit or the government. But this transit wants to connect you to your own belief systems. You could be changing a belief system or reconnecting to a belief that's more true for you, a philosophy that fits you better. You could be awakening to a new sense of your own soul's path during this time. Leo, that's beautiful. Now, when Venus retrogrades back into Pisces after it's in Aries, it will retrograde back into your 8th house of power, control, the house of emotional attachments. These are partnerships in which we share emotional and or sexual intimacy. They're the ones where we trigger each other much more easily, and this can be in business or in your personal life. This is also a house of money, and so that can trigger us as well, right? Finances, shared money, oftentimes assets. When we have a Venus retrograde in the 8th house, sometimes we're dividing assets. Sometimes we are thinking about buying or selling a home. I would not buy a home with Venus retrograde until it goes direct, because there's often new information that we don't see. Something comes to light during the retrograde. Or it could simply fall through. You use your own best judgment, your own intuition. This is just a guideline. But also because it's a partnership and a money house, you could find something change within an intimate partnership for sure. You could be doing your taxes. I know a lot of people will be doing taxes around this time. You could get a surprise about your taxes. I'm sorry to say, these are just examples, possibilities. Not everybody is going to experience this or feel this at all. And you could have a power struggle go on with somebody during this time. It could be a power struggle having to do with a financial arrangement with somebody. It could be with an institution, a bank. It could be with where you have money invested. It could be with a partner, business or love partner. It's a good time to get some sort of mediation, advice from a professional and or counseling if that would make you feel more supported. Venus retrograde in the 8th house is often a time that we reach out to advisors and get support and get the expertise that would help us to feel more empowered, because the 8th house is the house of empowerment. So Leo, let me pull a card for you now. Leo, your card is pleasure, Leo. Who wouldn't love this card? I mean, what a beautiful card for a Venus retrograde, to get the card of pleasure. It is time to say yes to your own pleasure. Perhaps this Venus retrograde in the 8th house, if you are in an intimate relationship, perhaps this card is saying it's time to focus more on that partnership, or it's time to give yourself the joy, the comfort, the fun, the spark of life, the pleasures of life that you have been keeping from yourself. That could be it as well. Or maybe you are really enjoying some armchair travel at the first part of this Venus retrograde. Maybe you are expanding in some way, because look at this card. There is this pathway through a portal. This Venus retrograde is going to be a portal for you. There is bright light, bright white light here through this portal. There's an accomplishment that is waiting for you as you go through the portal into the light. A heart healing for some of you. Saying yes to pleasure is going to raise your vibration, and it's going to take you into a new level of consciousness, a new frequency that will make you a match for what your heart most desires. Beautiful Leo, if you resonate with anything I shared, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear. Cancer. Hello, beautiful Cancer. Cancer, I have my moon and my rising in Cancer, and those of us who are Cancer risings will have the first part of the retrograde, Venus retrograde in Aries, in our 10th house of career, legacy, retirement, semi-retirement, your life purpose expressed. This is where you have passion, where we often make a vocation into a career. And I think that a lot of Cancers during this Venus retrograde are going to be assessing how they're spending their time, whatever you're doing for meaning. Some of you, Venus retrograde in the 10th house really could be having you assess, do I want to leave a career? Do I want to start a new business? Do I want to retire or semi-retire? Do I want to change my life in some way? Am I passionate about what I am doing? And if not, what is stealing my passion? What is out of balance? Squares, which is what you're getting from this Cancer and Aries energy, square each other, and a square motivates us, puts us into action. It makes us take course correct when there's a course correction needed. Venus will then retrograde back into Pisces for you, beautiful Cancer, in your 9th house. And when Venus is in Pisces, then we get a trine, which is so lovely. A trine is the flow. We're in the flow. We're in the flow. The energy is at our back, the wind's at our back. It's just like flowing down a beautiful stream. And it's the 9th house, which is the house of expansion. It's the house of spiritual beliefs and our philosophies and our higher learning, long distance travel sometimes, getting a degree, something that's adventurous, something that's a new horizon, something that we're stepping up to, that we're saying yes to. And for some people that's teaching, publishing. It's a house of growth and learning, but also where we're sharing our growth and learning and our soul's evolution often with other people through using some sort of, publishing platform, a book, videos, and all of that. So, Cancer, what do you want to do with your one wild and precious life? What is calling you? What would you say yes to if time, money, and resources were not an issue? Is there something out of balance, something needing your attention that you have put off? Maybe you have focused a lot on your career and you're tired. Maybe your body needs your attention because you're not moving enough. Maybe you are being called back into a deeper connection with the divine, the ninth house. Maybe you've been so focused on your mundane life, and I don't mean mundane as in boring, I mean like your everyday earthly life, that you are now being called to deepen that sweetness, the richness that we get when we have a rich inner life. Different for everyone, but any of those are possibilities. Let's see what the cards have to say for you, Cancer. Cancer. Your card is solitude. That's the vibe I was getting when I said deepening your connection with the divine. Have you had enough time? You know, there's this solitude of like being on our own and watching Netflix, right? Yes, I do that sometimes. Okay, now I have to do a quick tangent. Have you seen, now this is just me, obviously, but the Netflix series Younger, I really like that series. Okay, now moving on. It's different when we are on a quest, so to speak, a spiritual quest, right? Where we go out in the metaphorical canoe on a full moon evening and we look at the stars and we talk to the divine. That's a very different kind of solitude. That's what this card is saying. There's a depth, I think, of connection that is going to perhaps reset you. Retrogrades are resets. Perhaps reset your heart, Venus. Reset your sense of, I'm here for this reason, and I'm fed, being fed, Venus's desire, being fed by your spiritual connection. That's what I think this card is calling you to, Cancer. If you resonate, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to share, I'd love to hear. Gemini. Hello, beautiful Gemini. Gemini, I have my natal sun in Gemini. Those of you who are Gemini risings, you're going to experience Venus first in Aries, retrograding back in Aries, in your 11th house. The 11th house is the World card in the tarot. It's the house of hopes, wishes, and dreams, creative fulfillment. It's like the house that you feel like, this is my dream and I'm going after it. It is the house of long-term financial gains. It is friendships, social media platforms. It is allies and support, your audience if you have an audience, your followers if you have followers, groups, your tribe, where you want to feel like I'm part of a community. It can be a humanitarian cause as well. So with all of these diverse things, basically when I think of the 11th house, I think of us putting out into the world, into the ethers, what we most want, what would be most fulfilling, what would make us feel most supported, and creating it. And right now, as I'm speaking, it is raining so hard. I'm in Southern California and it doesn't rain here very often, and the rain is pouring, pouring, pouring. Maybe there's a message of cleansing for some of us as well. Venus retrograde, like all retrogrades, can be a beautiful time of cleansing, releasing, letting go. This is also, by the way, the house of online dating and online networks. So gems, during this retrograde, you could have what feels like a shift or a surprise that doesn't feel good, I have to say, in a relationship that's like a friendship, or something could slow down with your social media, or, like followers, that kind of thing. We all want to go forward, right? Especially Venus in Aries. Venus in Aries is like onward and upward. Venus in Aries does not want to have any sort of retraction. So it's not fun when that happens. But if it does, it's giving you a chance to pull in and focus on what your heart needs. And if we are seeking validation from friends, from groups, from, platforms and all of that, then Venus retrograde will show us that. It will show us that where we maybe are putting our, wanting that validation from others rather than giving it to ourselves, and calling us to give it to talk with our own inner child and hold him or her and let that part of us know how valuable we are, regardless of what other people are saying, doing, or you know, liking whatever. We all, I mean, let's face it, like with likes and comments and subscribes, you guys hear me asking for that or appreciating you for that. That is part of this world that we live in. I mean, the algorithm responds to that, right? The algorithm, but we don't want to make the algorithm God, right? We don't want to make the algorithm like, we don't want to be so attached. And Venus retrograde tends to have us let go of where we're too attached, where it's not healthy for us. Venus is going to retrograde back into Pisces in your 10th house of career. That makes a square to your energy. That means it will be motivating. You might feel like you need to take action. You may feel some tension or pressure. There's a shift that Venus and Pisces in your 10th house of career wants you to make. It's not just career, it's our passion, it's our vocation for some of us. It's reinventing ourselves, some of us. Some of you may want to start a spiritually based career, or you are being called into forgiveness and compassion for yourself, for other people. No more over sacrificing if you've been doing that. Maybe you need more balance in your life, maybe less time focused on career, more time focused on another area of your life. Beautiful gem. That could be it too. Venus retrograde tends to show us something we didn't see before so that we can make some fine-tuning correction that is better for our overall balance, harmony, fulfillment in our lives. Well-being. Okay, so Gemini, let me, and yeah, some of you could be switching careers for sure, or just asking, like seeking. You could be on a quest for what do I want to do instead, career-wise. So let me pull a card for you now, and we'll see what the cards have to say. And your card is Gemini, power. Take back your power. I hope that you don't have a sudden shock, but if you do, boy, does that put us in our power more than anything does, right? Somebody doing something, I shared my story in the beginning of this video, what happened during the last Venus retrograde. Somebody doing something that feels dishonoring, disrespectful. And it's usually, it's not so much, you know, people break up with us all the time. People, you know, our lives get changed all the time, right? Gems, you know this, you're about change. Gemini, if you're not aware of this, is one of the signs, because it's a mutable sign, it's meant to transition into all of us, including yourself, into a new season. So Geminis are used to transformation and change. It's part of your energy. It's part of what your soul signed up for. But when it happens in a way that doesn't feel honoring to you, that's when we get the shock. That's when we are being called back into our own power. That's when we are being asked to look at what we didn't acknowledge before, the red flags and where we didn't honor our own intuition, all of that, without shame, without being hard on ourselves. Just, it's all about learning and not abandoning ourselves. So this is going to be a time of you being called back into your own power, saying yes to your heart, advocating for yourself, perhaps, maybe saying something to someone that you wouldn't have said before, but it's going to make you feel more in your power. Any of these things could be true during this Venus retrograde. If anything resonates, Gemini, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Taurus, hello, beautiful Taurus. Taurus, you are going to experience this Venus retrograde in your 12th house to start. Venus will retrograde in Aries in your 12th house. This is the house of rest, retreat, renewal. This is the house of subconscious mind reprogramming. This is the house where we have spiritual awakenings, where things happen often during meditations or in our dreams that wake us up. It's the house of awakening. It's a karmic house. When you have Venus retrograding in the 12th house, you're more likely to have experiences with people, situations, events that feel fated or karmic in some way. People coming back into our lives, maybe that were here during a past life. We're part of our past life or lives. Maybe someone that is coming into your life to help you clear a relationship pattern, shift one. Be more self-honoring, be more self-loving. Also, spiritual practices are what take us into a deeper connection with the divine, right? And that's something that could open up for you, that you could become very aware of, that you might really get into during this Venus retrograde. If you don't have a daily spiritual practice, I highly recommend doing one. I do believe that a Venus retrograding in the 12th house is calling you to a daily spiritual practice for sure. Venus is then going to retrograde back into Pisces in your 11th house, Taurus, your 11th house of hopes, wishes, and dreams, the house of fulfillment, the house of what do you want your current life to feel and look like, the house of friendships, alliances, supporters, social media platforms, followers, audiences, the house of causes, the humanitarian. This is the house of long-term financial gains as well. So during this Venus retrograde in Pisces time for you, you could be reviewing a friendship. You could have something happen in a friendship that feels surprising to you. Now you are getting, with Venus and Pisces, you're getting a sextile. It's quite harmonious. So you may not feel anything jolting or shocking or disrespectful. It may just feel like you are in the flow with other people during this time. You could have happy surprises happen. But Venus in retrograde is showing us something that we didn't see before most of the time. And sometimes it can feel like a delay, or that we are in backward motion. It can feel like something happens that shifts the progress we've been making. And that is only temporary. And it happens so that we will realize when we are relying too much on the validation or support of others often, and it's time to give it to ourselves instead. This is also the house of online dating. So you could have been doing some online dating and then find that that changes in some way, or that you get tired of it, or that, you know, somebody is not who they said they were. You get the idea. Or maybe it's not who they said they were, but you projected something onto them, and it turns out that, you know, you just ignored the red flags, like we all can do. Lots of different ways that these things can play out, that this transit can play out. I'm just giving examples. Beautiful Taurus. Okay, so let us now pull a card for you and see what your message from the cards is. Your card is going forward. Well, if this is not an amazing card to get for a retrograde, I don't know what is, because it's not very often that we feel like we're going forward during a retrograde. But you are getting a sextile from Venus in Pisces, and you are going to spend the first part of the retrograde. It's happening in your 12th house, so that will most likely be more inward, but maybe you'll come out of that. And when Venus retrogrades into Pisces, you'll be like, I am ready. I'm going forward. I have found my yellow brick road. I'm walking into the light. All is beautiful. If you want to claim that you're going forward, let us know in the comments below, Taurus. I would love to hear. My beautiful friend, thank you so much for joining me for the Venus Retrograde 2025 video. I hope that this has been illuminating for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like this video, leave me a comment, share this video, subscribe to the channel. When you like, comment, share, or subscribe, you send a message to the algorithm that puts this video out to more people who love astrology, and you really help support the channel. It means more to me than you know. If you would like a private astrology consultation, if you want to do a reading with me, it would be my absolute joy to meet you on Zoom. Go to my website, check out the testimonials that other clients have left, and you should get a sense of whether you feel drawn to work together. We can do a 2025 year ahead reading. We can do a natal chart reading, a life purpose, heart's desire, relationship harmony. I also offer 90-minute astrology consultations if you would like a bit of coaching, or you have specific questions that you want to spend more time on during your reading. Lots of options, including my clarity coaching sessions. And you'll find out everything you need to know on my astrology and my coaching pages, which are linked in the description box below. As promised, I have a free gift for you, and that free gift is a soothing guided meditation, reconnecting you to your spiritual source, reconnecting you to your heart. If you would like to feel that unconditional love of the divine, and reconnect with your spirit, go to my website, subscribe to my weekly inspirational astrology updates for free, and you will get that instant download at the same time. Thank you to my Sunday chat friends for joining us. I am so happy always to spend time with you. Everyone is welcome Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Let me know how you are feeling about this Venus retrograde. What are you sensing intuitively? Anything that you want to share. I love hearing from you. Leave me a comment. Let us know. And until my next video, my beautiful friend, I am sending you all my love.